welcome to the Pick Up the Flow show. I'm the host, Salwa, and today my guest is Meriem Bennani. Hi, Meriem.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Such a pleasure.
So happy to be here. Hang out with you.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, honestly, like when I did this, I had the idea of this show, you were one of the first that I thought, and
Yes.
I'm so happy we're making it happen.
Thank you.
And yeah, before we start the conversation, could you introduce yourself for those who may not be familiar with your work?
Yeah. My name is Meriem Bennani, and I am an artist. I was born and grew up in Rabat, Morocco, and I've been in New York for 14 years, and that's where I live and work.
Nice. Yeah, it's such a pleasure to meet a fellow Moroccan.
Yeah, you're
American.
like one of five.
Yeah.
In New York, so
Same.
yeah.
I was like, that's why it's like so unique for me, and I love your work so much. So
Same, exactly.
But yeah, like I'm so curious, because you grew up in Rabat, and what was your experience like growing up in Morocco?
I'll divide it into like childhood and teenagehood because I left when I was 17. I think it was great. Definitely childhood amazing. And whenever I get asked that, I always think about the same thing, but I think about Cartoon Network. And like, I guess, I think about just like a honestly very chill and nice childhood, and but also about, because we're talking with the angle of thinking about work, I guess, also like the things that I remember that kind of like were formative, like just like aesthetic experiences, emotional experiences. And I think that, yeah, like that having Cartoon Network, I don't know if you had that. You know, like you had like the set, like Pirate.
Pirate, yeah.
At 7 p.m. it would turn into like this other channel that had like black and white movies. It was like, to a child, the most boring thing. But during the day, I think that, yeah, like I still remember what it felt like to watch cartoons. It was mostly American cartoons, like 90s cartoons, basically. And yeah, so that was really fun. And yeah, teenagehood was maybe a bit different. I think just like in kind of growing a personality, like, or like not growing out of some things as a teenager that were part of me as a child, while everyone else seemed to really quickly grow out of those things to really start. A lot of people started feeling like they were like becoming their parents faster than me, or other of my friends. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think like, I mean, you and I have a common experience of going to French school in Morocco, which has like it's a very specific environment. It's very lucky, like, right, like it allowed us to kind of like maybe travel for studies, and like just it gave us opportunities, but it's also complex culturally. And in terms of like, it's pretty elitist environment. There's maybe a mainstream culture that of the school that is like a bit normative in a way that can be crushing if you're a bit fragile. It never crushed me, but I definitely never fully identified. And I think in a lot of my teenagehood, I enjoyed being there because I was like a surfer, a skater. It's like really fun things to do there. And I had friends and stuff, but I definitely like didn't have like a million friends. Like I was waiting to find my environment, and I knew it would come after.
Yeah.
But I think it's like kind of like the story of every person.
Yeah.
Who's maybe like creative or,
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for it, because I think that like this practice of observing a world that maybe you feel like you are part of it, like we are as product of that culture, it's like, but also you're observing it, knowing that maybe you feel different about some things. It teaches you to look, and maybe like and it's a big part of making art, to like feel like a level of being removed. And honestly, like even when I moved to like places and met people that do the same thing as me or like the same thing, I still feel like keep staying removed is like really important. Like being, you need to live and function, but like having this possibility of like not feeling fully at home anywhere is not the most comfortable, but it's like a distance that can be productive. I don't say productive because that sounds like I'm a psycho that only thinks about work, but it's a practice of looking.
Yeah.
That even emotionally, like not work wise, can maybe be teach you something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
Actually, it made me think of like being like when you like being in the US. It's like we have the exil, like the ghorba, like where like I'm curious, like how did you live your life with that feeling of like
Yeah. Yeah. Did you go to France at first?
No.
You came here directly.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's unusual, right? Because I went to France first. And by the way, I feel like when I think about the environment of like the French school, I'm like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah.
But then if I say that in Morocco, like, or around my cousins who also went there, or like, or like, just around people like my family, they'd be like, oh, it's not that weird. But I'm kind of happy that I think it's weird.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, also it's not, right? Because it's like who we are. We can't just be like, oh, like that was, but I feel like, what I mean to say is that I feel like what we grew up with is the knowledge of being Moroccan, with the language, the culture, and just living in it and being part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then this other hovering culture, this French culture, French language, like listen to our accent right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like something about the way that was organized in the French school was teaching us that there was a hierarchy between both, right? And that obviously like French was maybe superior or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in a way, like, because we're here, we can look at it like there's like a binary between two things. We build for ourselves a third point of view to be able to look at it and like understand what part of it are still part of us, whether we want it or not, and what parts of it we benefited from, and what parts of it we can be critical of. So I did go to Paris first. Like a lot of people would go to French-speaking countries because of the language, and then I came to America, and how it is for me to be here. I mean, I think at this point I've been here for 14 years. I like that you said Ghorba because that's from Rai. Like,
yeah,
it's
emotional.
Like, I mean, you say Ghorba, but I feel like for me when I hear that, it's like it means Ghorba means like you have like the longing for home.
Yeah,
and it's like a very like a big motif in Rai music, which is Algerian music. There is some Rai in Morocco, but it's mostly Algerian, of like the music of exile and like romantic songs, and you don't know if it's about a woman or about the country you left, but it's like this like sentimentality. And yeah, like I feel that now. I feel like I always miss my home, and I miss my family mostly, and I need to be in Morocco a lot, otherwise I feel very lost. If I spend like right now, I've been in New York for too long. Like I'm working too much to go, and I'm starting to feel like, whoa, I need to like dip myself into like be with my family and be there. But something started shifting recently. I don't know if you're feeling that as well. It's that it shifted from, oh, I miss my home, to like, I understand that now. I mean, I'm becoming a diasporic person, which I never grew up diasporic, and Moroccans have, there's a huge diaspora. So I always was aware of diasporic Moroccan identity. And I was like, that's not me. Like I grew up here. It's just different. Like I don't have that experience. And now I feel like I'm starting to have it. And if I have kids, they will have it.
Yeah.
And so yeah. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. I definitely feel that. And it's, I'm really curious about when you came here. So when did you come to New York? You said
2009.
Oh wow.
I think I was 21.
And
I'm really bad with dates and stuff. It was 14 years ago, almost 15 maybe.
so you came here did you go to school directly or?
Yeah, so the trajectories, I did high school in Morocco. Then I went to art school in Paris, Arts Déco, and I studied animation. And then I had a weird trajectory where I met someone here on MySpace.
Whoa,
Yeah.
nice.
TBT. And when I was 17.
Wow.
And then it was like a long distance thing. And then I was like, oh my God, I really want to move to New York. And also I was really attracted to the idea of New York. Kind of like, I don't think I felt good in Paris. I didn't have the language, honestly. I think at the time, to why. The Les Arts Déco, I think it probably has, I don't know how much it changed, but it was pretty like, today I would say white. Or like the culture was pretty monolithic. At the time, weirdly, like I was like, oh, I can't quite put the finger on like what I feel here. I did meet some people that I'm still good friends with today, and some people that I'm still best friends with when I was in Paris. But I felt something like off, you know, like I wasn't really happy. And then I came here for 1 week, and I just like, it blew my mind. I felt like this is the place. My first adult choice was like, this is where I want to live. Not like I'm in Paris because that's where I ended up by just kind of like tradition almost. And so then I was studying animation, and I did an exchange in New York at SVA. And I did an internship. It allowed me to stay a full year. And then I was like, no, I really want to stay. So I applied to Cooper. Cooper Union was still free at the time because, as you know, I was school in France. I'm not going to like, like I couldn't like afford, like, you know, like I had to find something free or I can't stay. And Les Arts Déco are free, obviously. And so I got into Cooper, and then I still had 1 year left in France, and they let me do it from far away. So I did both schools for 1 year.
Whoa.
It was like a system hack. And also like whatever. Yeah. So and then I stayed here. So then I did like 2 years and a half at Cooper as a transfer student, and then I stayed.
Wow. And so do you feel like were your parents okay with the idea of you coming here and being way too far? You know, because yeah.
Were they worried?
Yeah, my parents were really worried about it, and
can I ask you how you decided to come here?
Well, yeah, I went to French school, and then I just couldn't. I think the mentality, like I was kind of like depressed, like my last year of high school, and I was like, I cannot go to France. Like I couldn't. I think it was like French, like as a language, because like we learn French, and it's our language.
Yeah,
like we cannot.
Yeah,
like
our
we
version
think,
of French is a Moroccan language.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
But then at the same time, like I had so much, like I didn't like the school. I didn't like how things worked, and and I remember I was like, maybe this is it. You know, it's like when you have like you know, things in life, like you just want to go really far. And I found a way like to come here, but yeah, it was really difficult.
You chose New York.
I chose New York.
You had been here?
I've been here when I was really little. It was like before 9/11, but as a trip before my parents divorced. And I don't know why I was like, you know, it's like sometimes it's just a dream, and you have to do it. Especially when people are, like tell you no, you can't. I think it's like it was more a rebellion.
Yeah.
When people say no, you can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, and then yeah, I came here. But yeah, it's like now that I reflect, like I don't know how I did it, because it's like I think when we were young, we're so like naive, but like like we have the energy. We can do anything.
But it's kind of impressive that you had that instinct to come here after high school, because like. For me, it's like I knew that I wasn't like, I thought in Paris I would find like, I was like, I'm going to art school, like that's a dream, like I'm gonna find my people, like but if I hadn't come here, I wouldn't even for a second, or met someone, I wouldn't have like realized that there's maybe another place for me.
Yeah.
I would just be like, oh, something's wrong with me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so where you were in Paris, like what, like did you have like a community? Like, did you like your life there? How was it?
I mean, I made some good friends. But I think Paris was really boring at the time. Now I go there, I have so much fun. I think the diasporas hadn't organized around like creating fun parties, like for art, for like, there's so many, like, and now I go there and I feel like I have friends, you know, from that their families are from so many places, and it makes a huge difference in my Paris experience. And it's just like, it's much more like political, it's much more exciting, there's like much more movement, it feels less like this like heavy French Paris like kind of like culture, dominant culture of like Parisian aesthetics. And well, it doesn't even mean anything anymore. Now when I think of Paris, I'm excited, you know. And like I think that even when I talk to those friends today, they're like, yeah, we found each other recently. Like it didn't used to be like that. So, or maybe I missed out on something, you know. But so like I had fun, friends. It was mind blowing to just be able to make art all day after being in high school and school my whole life, you know? Where you have to do everything. So I was like, whoa, this is great. But I don't think I was like, when I compare to like how I felt the second I came here, I wasn't yet like, I hadn't found my place. And then I think here I just immediately felt really good.
Nice. So when you came to New York, like were you going out, like going to like galleries, museums, parties?
Yeah, definitely. I'm really not someone who goes to see a lot of art. I say it with half guilt, half YOLO now, where I'm like, I guess it's part of who I am. Like it's okay. Like I don't have to feel guilty about it. Like, but I think more when you ask me about arriving here, my memory is like going out and like like parties, but also just kind of like the feeling of everyday life. Something about it just like is a lot of what I did. Like I don't know, just like the people I met, the making work here, I feel like feels different. I was in school, so like there was also that. And yeah, of course, I went to some museums and some openings and stuff, but it's not like a huge part of my life.
And were you like at that time thinking about like your practice, or were you just like experimenting with ideas?
So at the time, I was coming out of the animation school. My first year, the year I was doing away in Paris was like the thesis year, so you have to make an animated film. So I was working on that, and it was like a traditional hand-drawn animated thing. It was a love story between two dogs, and one of them eats the other one, or like one of them gets hit by a car, and then like the other dog starts licking the wounds and then eats the whole. It was very Shakespearean, but it was all drawn with Sharpies. And actually now I have a Sharpie allergy because I used, you know how many drawings you have to make for 8 minutes of animation. So I was using Sharpies for a year without a mask because I'm so bad at like stuff like that. I just don't think about it. And now even if I open a Sharpie, I'm like I feel like my throat hurts.
Really? Well,
yeah.
Wait, so is it it's toxic? Like the
yeah. I mean, a little bit is toxic, but if you like you're in it for a long time, it has a I don't know. So I was doing that, and then at Cooper, I always wanted to like. I say I always wanted, but now I don't know anymore. But at the time, I had always wanted to do art, like not like apply to something. I initially when I was in Paris, I started initially I did Beaux-Arts and Art Deco, and then I chose Art Deco, and Beaux-Arts is like the fine art school. And the reason I didn't stay there, although I was like, I want to be an artist, was because I was really young. And like, I realized you have to like kind of build your own, you're like very free, you know, and I needed structure. I needed to be taught stuff. So I went to animation, and I'm really happy I did because,
nice.
You know, that like I learned some stuff. I also think when you do computer animation, on the technical level, you really just learn alone. Like, I'm not saying that like in a, like, I'm not denying what school has brought to me, but you know how it is. If you're a nerd, you really learn by watching tutorials and doing stuff alone. And with school, you learn more how to think about it, maybe. And and then when I arrived and I was at Cooper, I was so happy to be an artist. And so I was making drawings.
Nice.
That was like my practice. I was drawing.
Nice. Then, you know, I just remembered I had a teacher that I think knew you from school, Rory.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my teacher.
School. We were friends. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. Because I remember.
I love that you call him Rory.
Yeah, Rory Salomon. Now oh my God, now I remember. Yeah. Shout out, hi. But yeah, it's so, I totally agree. Actually, I'm curious about like what, you know, like learning, like once you have a practice, you're kind of like on your own, like you have to learn things on your own. Like, how did you do to like expand your practice after like a school?
Yeah, I think that's when my work as like the work that I make today really started. Not really. I mean, everything is an accumulation.
Yeah.
But I think so. I was doing drawings, and in animation, I was doing like basically also drawing, right? Like everything, meaning that everything I made was like drawn. Like I wasn't using live action or like real images, photographic images. And I was used to like everything has to go through a filter of being processed by like how I illustrate it. And I never felt like a sensitivity or like a skill in photo or video. Like for me, like I looked at it like I like movies, but and like there's like a video, like people who do video, but I didn't feel like an affinity to it specifically. But that's what I do today. And I think the way that happened is that when I left school, I had learned I was pretty good. I mean, never good enough, but like good enough to get jobs at After Effects. Like I love computers. I was like learning After Effects, and my friend Ryan gave me my first job. He has a production company, and they do like post and motion graphics. So he was like, he hired me to do like motion graphic stuff, and it allowed me to make money. And the first job he gave me actually was to key out like a green screen behind Rudy Giuliani to put a waving American flag.
Whoa.
So like I had to like, and I didn't know how to do it, and he was like, figure it out. And he was like, he's like, I'm going to give you a tip. This is very American. Like, just say you can do it.
Yeah.
And then you figure it out. So I was like, okay. And then I looked it up, started keying out the green, and then like learn how to make a waving American flag. And yeah, so then I got better and better at After Effects. And I started kind of like, it was the beginning of Instagram, which I like kind of hate that that's how I started experimenting, because I really don't care about like I don't care about making work for social media.
Yeah.
Like there's a point where I was doing it like, and it helped me get direct feedback and play with stuff, and it was helpful. But now I'm like, I just want to put a clip just to share something, but I don't. Yeah. Anyways, I know it sounds contradictory because I've made a lot of work on social media, like, but it's just like the platform where it's to share it. But I don't care about the platform in itself as like, or like making work that for that container is just a practical thing. So anyways, I was like, oh, like now that I learned to draw these little special effects, I want to try to play with video. So I would just like manipulate like a music video or like news footage and stuff. And I was like, oh, there's something here, you know, like the fact that it's live action versus animated, it has a more direct kind of relationship with reality. And then if you add a layer to that, like the effect is stronger than if you're in a world that's already like 20 steps removed because it's illustrated. So I thought there was something there, because coming out of school, I realized, oh, I'm just making work about work, like work about Like I was drawing a lot of stuff inspired by cinema or just like the history like of kind of like art history, like different iconographies. And I was like, but this is so removed from the world I live in. Everything is like just starting to feel like everything is very an obvious thing, right? Everything's political. And like how do I feel politically in the world, or like how do I feel about Morocco? How do I feel about living here? And that's when I was like, oh, I think there's like I can understand what my positionality is around all these things by using real images that ground you right away into these cultural specificities or political specificities, but then I can still play with them like I've done with drawing and animation. And I think that's when I found an entry point that is kind of like the thread I've been following up till now.
Yeah, definitely. I have I was wondering because like in an interview, I mean, it's like most of your videos, like I think you said in an interview that you like humor is like a default in your art.
Yeah.
Like is it at that time like that you realize, okay, if I'm bringing like this virtual world to this real world, I need this point of entry so that people can relate? Or
humor was always, like in my drawings, animation, I think there was always humor. But you're right. What I just talked about is my entry point to the work I'm making. But humor is an entry point for people looking at my work to get into the work itself.
But is it like how do you feel with like at that time, like did you have were you just experimenting with the medium? Like did you have like for example, like now your work is elaborate, like you have different kind of projects that have their own worlds. But at that time, were you still figuring out the content, or was it just like experiments of like
I can tell you the trajectory. I was taking like random stuff like from the news or things I just filmed, like because I was in Morocco filming around, or like things here, so like things that were like relevant in moment because everyone saw that news clip, and manipulating it. And that was it. It didn't have like so much of like, it wasn't constructed as a project. It was just these little exercises. The videos you could post were under 15 seconds. Remember that?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
When there was, at first it was only photos on Instagram. Then they were like, oh, video. And then it had to be under 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And then for a long time it was under a minute.
Yeah.
And now it's endless.
It's so true.
But yeah. And so it was just like little 15 seconds exercises. That's what I was referencing earlier when I said I was making these works, just putting them on Instagram and then getting direct feedback from people. And I was like, I think I'm onto something. Like I'm finding a language here, but it was really not articulated, or like it wasn't elaborate at all. Like it was just like a beginning of an idea. But I think it's necessary to have long moments of like very free, like almost doodling before you get deeper. Because then, I was just trying stuff out. The way that turned into video work is because to me that was like not my work. Like I was like, I'm making drawings. The bridge, I have a friend who told me like, oh, you should make video. And like I thought that was out of my lane, like not my lane, like out of my league. Like I was like, oh, there are people who do videos. I don't even know how to like do any of that. I don't know how to film and stuff. But then we had iPhones, so then I started playing with that, and then the first actual video in that way that I did from everyday footage was like I had an exhibition at Signal. Do you remember Signal?
Yeah, we're in Bushwick.
Yeah. So that was like a very special space. It was ran by Kyle and Alex, who are good friends and who like really like gave me my first show. the first I had with my friend Hayden, and it was like they gave us a show. They were running like it was artist run, like this like huge space. I don't even know how they were maintaining it, but it was a very special moment because they had super ambitious shows in a completely DIY way. And so then they gave me a solo show, and that was my first show ever. And I made a video based on like all this iPhone footage that I had taken in Morocco, and it was like very free flowing, and it felt like just kind of experience of like chilling in the city, like just being. And then there were a lot of special effects and like things, and I started playing with sound, and that's the first time that I was like, oh, everything can be augmented because I come from animation. So like I'm watching this video of this woman making mlewi, like it's like a tortilla.
Yeah.
A square tortilla and thicker and very yummy.
Yeah.
And in the street, but like maybe I can augment the sound.
Oh.
You know, it's like a very spontaneous stuff that then I'm like, wait, that kind of adds something. Like it doesn't need to happen just visually. And then like she's going like this, and it was like, and I was like, it's like something starts happening, and it's allowing me to say something through this footage, or like to kind of like focus their attention on one thing. So then I started playing with that and being like, oh, if someone like drops something, it can sound like something else. And then yeah. So it's like building a language, and then I kept going.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember in an interview. Sorry, I read a lot of interviews, but
no, don't apologize.
But you talked about the freedom that this art like gives you compared to like other filmmakers, or you know, like where you just like constrained to one thing, but the fact that you can experiment with film and also like how it's presented, and I think that's so needed in art. Like I feel like, you know, it's like everything is the same. Like we need to push forward with what we have. Like we don't need to go beyond, like create something with AI. You know what I mean? It's like everything is here. So
I think well, the cool thing about art is, you know, I don't really love the art, like a lot of things about the art world. Mostly like it is a market, and there's like so many things that to me sound so arbitrary and whatever. But I will say what I like about it is that there's no format. I mean, aside from the fact that all the galleries look the same, that's a format. But then really like you come up with a piece, you also come up with the format of the piece. While in film there are formats, you just come up with like what goes inside of it. So there's no recipient, and that's kind of crazy and really cool. Like anything, you know, like you can really like make things up in a way. It gives a lot of freedom, and also like the way you work with curators is for better or for worse, because sometimes I think like the artist is like too sacralized and could take some notes and feedback. But like often in my most shows I've done, I never get notes on like what I do. Like a few days before the opening, I'm like, here's the final video, and then it's played. And I think that that's wonderful, because it like helps you like believe in yourself, build confidence that, you know, your work is respected, and it's like, as you know, random as it can look, or like, you know, because there's no rules, like, you know, like people like do give you a platform to show something, and that can be like, you know, very bold in its format or it's what it's doing. So that's really cool, right? I think it allows for so much to happen, versus like in the film or TV industry, it's so formatted. There's so much money that goes into the making of things that everything is like flattened in a way into like, when you look at Netflix today, everything looks the same. I mean, not everything, but a lot of it, right? Because but at the same time, I'm like, it's crazy that we don't get notes, we don't get pushback. I'm sometimes I feel bored, like, or you get like a bad review, or someone will like, maybe, I'm not saying it has to be about badness, actually, it's like just like a feedback, you know, like I feel like when you work in film, you get notes like, this is not coming through, like this could be like, and so I do like the freedom of the art world, but I do feel like some pushback could be nice.
Yeah, it's true. Do you have like like before you show a new project, do you have a group of friends that like you use as
No, of course I get feedback. Like I'm like I have my own systems, but I just find like I feel like conversations with curators, like you have sometimes really amazing conversations and stuff, but I feel like there's the complete freedom is good, but also sometimes it can like make you a bit soft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm curious, like, so at that time when you first started showing your work, were there like artists that like you met that really influenced you, like inspired you, and you were like, wow, I finally found my people, and like you felt that, you know, like a community, but like in art, like that push you to do new type of projects?
I think what pushes me the most is like more like the people that grew up around, like observing them and like through a lens of like a lot of like you know, there's like love, but there's also like watching, and like I think the mix of both is like very much what's in my work. When I say watching is like, yeah, there's love and there's like a bit of distance, and I think that that's really like the most formative thing. But in terms of community, I think that there's like something that's been two people that have been very influential in how I make work, which is Antonio Santini, who's like my best friend, I would say, and he is a documentary filmmaker. And then my partner Orion, who also makes documentaries. And I think that both of them, watching them talk about documentary is a huge reason of why like my films exist, like because they are documentaries. But same, I never thought I would make documentaries. Like everything started kind of happening randomly. Not randomly, obviously, but like it was a lot of plot twists for me. And they were making proper documentaries, right? Like, but like also very creative ones that redefine what documentary can mean. But I learned a lot about like, yeah, how do you actually build a story with reality, which is what every documentary is a construction. And also like how do you edit, how do you like all these things, like how do you talk to someone, how do you get to know someone, like for like all these kind of like subtleties of the process of making documentaries, I think has influenced how I make my films.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through your creative process? Like, how do you find inspiration for your project, and what steps do you take, like, to bring the project to life?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's like
Yeah, no, don't worry. I'll say for most of my films, it starts with like a lot of time spent browsing or surfing the internet. It feels so old school to say surfing the internet. But yeah, like I will get really interested in something, often seemingly silly, but not fully silly. Like a YouTube trend, a musical genre, like something like that. Always related to Morocco. That's where my heart beats, like, and where I like wake up kind of like creatively, where I feel like at stake, which I think is why or care. Doesn't mean forever, but at least like the past 10 years. And I'll notice something at some point that like I always notice like a contradiction or a tension or something that I can't resolve. That's when I get interested. For example, I made a film in my high school. We were talking earlier about French school, and I was like,
oh yeah,
I'm like, there's something about this culture that I finally feel ready to talk about this experience, because now I've been here for a long time, so I can look at it. But I'm a product of it. So like I can't just simply like be critical. So that's an impossible thing, right? It's like, you know, and then I'm interested. Or yeah, but that I'll just say at this example. But like so it's like there's a tension, and I'm like, because something is impossible about this, like I have to create new images. Like it will push me to create images in a new way, because this is a situation that maybe no images have been created around in this way. So I have to invent something. Of course, I'm not reinventing image making, right? Like everything is referential. Everything I know, I've seen somewhere and like processed it in my own way. But I am interested in like the possibility of producing new images. And I feel like that's my job. Kind of like that's what I have to bring to the table. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, speaking of the internet, like I'm curious to know more about like your opinion on TikTok and Instagram. Yeah, but especially TikTok, because it feels like this endless pit of images. I'm curious to know more about your opinion on TikTok as a source.
Yeah. I don't look at TikTok. I, like a lot of people, see TikToks on Instagram. I know that I've had little moments where like I follow some super random accounts and I would go and look, but I'm also like so saturated, like, and because like I feel like if you're on TikTok, you just look like Instagram. You don't even remember that you took it and you. But like when I do this, like as silly as it sounds, like even if it's about like a TikTok dance, I will like if I'm doing research, I'm actually on a computer researching. You know, so it's kind of like I'm chilling, but I'm actually like I'm working. I'm like saving stuff. So it can be like the most silly looking thing, but I'm doing it in like with a framework of research. Nice. so and it's often YouTube.
Nice.
So but TikTok, yeah, like I it's like this like untouched treasure. I haven't gone there yet. I don't know if I have the capacity.
Yeah, it's pretty addictive, to be honest.
Are you on TikTok?
Yeah, I watch so many things, but like I end up watching for hours and I look so sad, and then
to your phone? From your phone to
yeah. And then Greg is like, you look so sad. So, but it's pretty insane. Like, I mean, I thought of TikTok because, you know, it's funny. I feel like your work, like for example, in Life on the Caps, I have some clips that I'm gonna play. Thank you. You superpose a lot of like images and YouTube and references to culture and music, and it's so like I feel like if we die, it's like it reflects our times. Like it's such a like an artifact.
The cool thing is we don't have to die.
Yeah.
Like
Like
but I like that.
Because it's like there, it's like this one piece, and it has everything, and I think it's pretty like it's like an archive.
Thank you for saying that. It's so funny when you said if we die, and I imagine it's like what you see before dying. It's like all these images. But I know what you mean.
Yeah. But yeah, so I have like some videos that I'm gonna play. So this was BTS.
Yes. This was the shoot of Life on the Caps. It's a sci-fi trilogy. There's 3 chapters. The last chapter is also called Life on the Caps, like the trilogy. And this was like we wrapped the shoot, and it was with the troupe of collaborators.
Nice.
And then this is like one of the teasers from the video. ديما مخدمين تراكاتنا في الارسكي بايكس ديالهم باش يطلعوا علينا
يو الدراري معكم امين موسى وتاع كلاكسون احسن واحد في الكابس اليوم نضرب الطراد ديالي للخير ما تنساوش تشوفوا وديروا معكم لايك وسبسكرايب
Nice. Yeah, I'm really curious about like how long did it take to shoot the trilogy?
So I did each episode or each chapter separately. So I shot the first one in 2018. And then the second one, I didn't really shoot, it was COVID. So the second one is mostly animation. And then the third one I shot in 2021, I think. So, but each time it's like a very short shoot. It's like a couple days.
Oh wow!
It's like a long editing period. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I remember reading in an interview you mentioned that you were inspired by quantum physics and teleportation.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm sure your mind, like your child mind, you know, like watching cartoons and kind of also like influence your project, but
yeah.
Like what else influenced you when you worked on this project?
Well, so to explain the project, it's the caps, like Life on the Caps is kind of like it's a sci-fi project, and it's imagining a future where teleportation is possible, so that people don't really take the plane anymore, they mostly teleport. And it was because you said quantum physics, I was curious what are quantum physics, and I was like, oh, actually quantum physics is how we do teleportation. Teleportation is something that we scientifically understand. So maybe one day we could do it. And I'm sure you would have a similar reaction. It's like, but what about visas?
Oh yeah.
So then based on that, I was like, well, maybe in the future where people can teleport, there's like this whole like crisis around like people are teleporting illegally. The US is freaking out. They're intercepting teleportations, and then they're holding people on this island in the middle of the Atlantic temporarily. But then after 2 generations, people are still stuck there, and it becomes this kind of like geographical analogy for diasporic living, which is really what I'm interested in the project. And then I film in the Moroccan neighborhood of that island documentaries. But basically, I'm just making documentaries in Morocco and telling people to role play that we're in the caps, so that I can talk about Morocco with this like playful mediation of like the sci-fi aspect of things. It makes people more relaxed. It allows more like room to kind of like for commentary. And it just like kind of like creates this like slightly off version that allows you to look at it like it's a new thing. So that's kind of like the project of, you know, but you asked me about the inspirations.
Yeah.
Well, so there was the quantum physics, and then there was like, that's how I was like, okay, like I thought about this idea. There was also the Muslim ban at the time, like Trump just elected. So these things together, I had the idea for the caps. And then the world of the caps is very much inspired by Shabi music, honestly. So like the BPM of Shabi, like super fast, super like any new instrument that comes in or new sample is just gonna make it in. Like if it's a dog barking or a horse, or like, you know, I mean, the horse has a tradition is because it's they're sampling horses because there used to be horses at some, or sometimes still today at weddings and stuff, or like in Fantasia, you know. But like there's just like anything, there's no preciousness around like this can only accept this kind of like, there's only this kind of sounds that can be in a Shabi song. There's only this kind of like effects on the voice. Anything that works. So that's kind of like, I think, the philosophy, in my opinion, of like some of Shabi music and why it's able to really evolve amazingly, Rai as well, and like to really breathe through generations and not die. And that's what inspires me in the video making as well, of like, I'm gonna take archival from YouTube, I'm gonna make this special effect, I'm gonna make this animation, I'm gonna take footage, and not really caring about where the footage comes from, but more of like, does it work for my story?
So like you talked about storytelling. Like, do you write down like sentences? Like, how do you plan the story?
So it's a mix of real life and prompts. So what I do in my pre-production is that I write some vignettes, and I write the essential things to establish the world. So like, as long as the main characters tell you that you're on the caps, it's the future, the American troopers are like getting on their nerves, they're like surveilling everything they're doing, that there's this kind of like violence after that you feel in your body after being intercepted in mid-teleportation, whatever. Like, once they say all these things, you believe that it's true. The rest can be documentary. So then the rest is like creating situations where people are like a party, for example, where people just kind of like are partying, and then capturing that, and then that extremely real feeling put next to the sci-fi things, then they like complete each other, and then it like builds the world. So for each chapter is different, but that's kind of like the gist of it.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because in Life on the Caps, but also other works of yours, you have your mom as the main character, and she's so cool. Like, she's like the main, you know, like it's amazing. Like, she's an actress. Like, I remember watching, you did a music video for Mew Mew.
Yeah, it was the video for their show.
For the show, yeah. And she's amazing. And I'm curious, like, how did that idea of like also your aunt and the dog, like it's just like, I love like seeing the character in your work, you know, like it's like a continuity. It's not just like a one-off. It feels like
I have one cast. like again. Yeah.
Like it feels like a TV show in a way. Like like how did you get the idea of like having your family involved?
My friend made me realize, my friend Tiffany, she does Bidoun, she's also a graphic designer, she's a good friend. But like, we were doing an interview for Bidoun and she was interviewing me. And she was like, wait, is it that maybe it's like the opposite, that it's like I make the work I make because of them? Like, I think it's not like I was like, who could be in my film? Them. It's more like I made it for them, because I think observing women in my family growing up, we were talking about like the watching, like I always, there's literally like Cartoon Network in my childhood and watching like these like women in my family, and I think that's my work. Literally, you know, like the meeting of both. And so I think growing up watching them and being like, you're already like fab, like you're already like a show queen.
Yeah.
By default, all I have to do is capture it. And also because you're my mom, we can be so real. Like, you know, documentary has so many ethical things. I'm like, I love you. Like, I don't have any intention of showing anything bad or like violating anything. And you know me and my humor. And I'm like, we can work in this way that feels unconditional. But can you be in a sci-fi world? As long as you say these good things. And it's like, she's my ally in it. And then I have a character that she becomes a character because she says she's in the future. And that's it. And then the rest, she can just be my mom. So yeah, I'm lucky to have, I don't think I would make this work, you know, if I didn't have the inspiration.
Wow.
The actors they're acting as themselves. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they are the inspiration and yeah.
Yeah, that's what I liked. And we saw in one of the clip, you had Daxine.
Yeah, so I love that you're calling Daxine. Before Daxine, it was Camille. And Amiq, do you remember?
Yeah.
So Amiq is like so Kamel and Amin, who are the main characters in the last caps chapter, which the clips we just saw now, they made like a rap song. I don't remember when, but like 5 years ago. And they were like 18. They were so young. And it went viral and it was so good. It was called Ana Amiq, I'm Deep. And they were called Kamal and Amin. And when I watched that, my mind was blown. I was like it was so cool because like, as you know, like everyone is doing trap in Morocco. Right?
Yeah.
Trap is like huge. And there's some good trap, there's some good rap, but it's like a lot of it is trying to kind of emulate American trap. And that's kind of boring because it's like, it's not going to sound exactly like that or better. Like, why not just like make it yourself? And then there's also a lot of trap that's evolving very interestingly as like with like people doing it in the Moroccan way. That's, you know, just mixing things, different conversation. But there's like this like seriousness of like the rapper character, like being like, you know, just like being like a bro and stuff. And I'm like, these two guys are being so silly. And it was so fun to see the creativity of like, oh, they're making good music and being funny, which is hard.
Yeah.
Really hard to do. And I was like, wow, I need to meet them. And then Kemal Daxim, he kept making these videos, but then he deleted them all. He was making these videos on Instagram in his room.
Oh.
Have you seen them?
No, I don't.
Like on Facebook, he would just like play and be like, there was one called Ana Amiq, I'm lazy. And then he's just in his bed like singing like this.
Wow.
And it's so cute, so cool. And so I knew I wanted to work with them.
Nice.
And so they were a huge part of making this video.
Yeah, and also the I forgot his name, but I think he's a YouTuber.
Patty?
Yeah.
Same.
Like
yeah.
I love like like I love how you like, you know, you involve like I think I've read this about you, like you work with intuition, like it's all about the feeling, and you involve the people that like you like into your project, and it's just like a feeling like.
Yeah, also I'm lucky because it's like Patty, he's like, I am little Patty on Instagram. I found out about him through my friend Ayla, who was producing the first chapter of the Caps, and I was like, it's called Party on the Caps, and the main scene is a party. And I was like, it would be cool, you know, we thought we needed an MC, because if we have an MC, we can narrate, you know, so it does give like some structure and story structure to the party, which is fully documentary. And then she was like, oh, you need to check out this guy. He would be perfect MC. That's how I met Patty. He did it. He ended up being the character. And then since then, in everything I've done, there's like either a song he made, like he makes up songs. And honestly, it's like he's actually fully contributing. It's a full collaboration because he makes up things from scratch that are amazing that I could never write for him. And even now, like I'm working on a movie. It's a collaboration with Oriane, but he's a character in there. Nice. And most of like what he does, we very loosely wrote it, and we're like, you say it your own way because it's gonna be better than anything. So it's like it's about like, I think I'm lucky that these people, it's not like I'm including them, they're actually, I'm just asking them to do what they do in real life, but making that work into the world that is of the film. You know?
Yeah.
Same with my mom. It's like you're yourself, but in this world, it's like about just contextualizing them different, but it's really just them.
That's really cool. It reminds me of like there are a lot of filmmakers who also work that way. You know, they trust the people they work with. And what's the name of the Dune? Damn, I'm blacking out. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's the
Villeneuve. Villeneuve.
Yeah.
And
Yes, them improvise. Just kidding.
No, I remember he was on an interview and he mentioned that like he let people do like
even in a film like June.
No, I don't think.
Okay, that's why I was like, I'm
no, not June, but like people love working with him. Like he just let the actor do whatever, and I feel like you have to trust. Like it's a very hard technique because you have to be sure that you have the right person. But when you have the right person, it's seamless in a way. I think it requires, it's a skill to be able to know. It's
like casting. It's like casting is part of the production.
Yeah.
But also like the thing is, you know, you have the essential things you need to get for your film to work. You have to write those beforehand, kind of. But also the films I make are, the ones we're talking about are not traditional story like structures and stuff. So there's more breathing room, right? But I think you can like write down what you need to get. Once you have that in your camera, where like then you can play. Like it's not a real risk.
Yeah.
In a way.
And like, do you have a memory of like a moment that you were so amazed, like you did, like you gave like instruction and then you were like, oh my god, this is beyond.
I mean, I feel like every time I watch my mom and my aunt go off, like I'm like, whoa, you have so much energy. You go like this and they're just light up. They have more energy than me. Like, so that's cool. And same, like, I feel like Kamel and Emin, they really like understood the subtleties and like they understood the type of acting I was looking for. Because sometimes people overdo things and they just like, I'm like, they have such a good instinct. And then there's a full voiceover and I would, by Kamel, and I would just give it to him in English and then he would translate it in Darija.
Oh, nice.
But with like, with his Darija and slang, and he had always the right intuitions. And Patty, honestly, like I did this video, the video where I filmed the teenagers of French school. It was for the Whitney Biennial in 2019.
Yeah.
And then there was a side video with these houses that are singing, and they're just singing about themselves. And it's like these houses in different neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And I just made him a PDF of the houses, just photos of these houses. And I was like, can you improvise a song? And then he made a song that was so catchy. It's actually like this. He made up the lyrics. It was so catchy that every time I went to see the pieces, the museum guards, they were like, we can't stop singing this. Everyone is just like singing his song. Whoa. And I was like, he wrote a hit in 2 seconds.
Whoa.
So yeah, I think it's so fun to see people just what they naturally can do so well.
Yeah. It's like the creativity. Like Morocco, I don't know, there's something in Morocco. It's like,
that's just because you're Moroccan. There's something everywhere.
No, everywhere.
But you have a sensitivity to the thing in Morocco.
Yeah. I think it's like, I don't know if you have this feeling, but like even when you get to the airplane, and then you smell, you know, like the tea or like fleur d'oranger or something. Yeah. And then you have the oud music. Yeah. And then it's
I
like
love that you call it oud music.
Yeah.
Oud is a smell, but you associate them, you're like, it's oud music. I'm like, it's not. It's like Andalusian.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so stupid. You said oud like lut. I thought you meant oud like the
smell.
The incense.
Yeah, like, but it's also the incense. Also yeah. I feel like we live, but I feel like, do you feel like you enter a new matrix?
Yeah. It's the second I'm at the airport and I see Moroccans.
Because everyone is nice to you. Like you can say Allah yahfdak, which means God bless you. Mm-hmm. And then people are like your family. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, but sometimes also you just want to sleep and you don't want to be like family.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I'm curious about like how, because you know, like on Life on the Cut, like how did you cast people? Like that's a lot of work. Like was it just because you were like you made the piece, you work on the piece, but also you're a producer? Like
yeah, I've had help. Like for example, Ayla produced with me the first one. The casting is online. Basically, the casting is the reason the film exists. Like, it's not like I'm like, I need this and then... I mean, sometimes with Patty, for example, I need this and we cast. But it's like the characters are written... Like, the roles are written based on people that I'm like, wait, I want to work with this person. So I'll make a film around them. Yeah.
Yeah, I have, like, some other stills that I'm going to play. I feel like... So this was for...
this is the second chapter.
Chapter.
And it was at François Gabali in LA.
Yeah, I'm really curious about like your choice of, you know, like creating sculptures. Mm-hmm. How did you get the idea for like your work?
Depends on the sculpture, but at first I started making kind of sculptural forms for the videos. Mm-hmm. Same, you know, I told you I didn't think I could do video. I never thought I could make sculptures. It was like felt like so far away from what I did. But it's like I tricked myself in a way because I was like, oh, I want to show these on like these like forms and projection maps. Like I was like, if I'm in a gallery and I want to engage with the architecture, I don't. Otherwise, why not just show it like in a theatrical context? And so then I started making sculptures for the videos, and then I was like, oh, I guess I like sculpture, and then kept going, and then almost like the little wheels on a bike, I was like, you realize you don't need them. So like I needed video to have ideas of sculpture, and now I'm like, oh, I think I can make sculptures like it's given me the confidence to keep going, maybe sometimes without video.
Yeah, one of like your recent sculpture, public sculpture was Windy, and I have a photo, but it was at the Highline and commissioned by the Highline and Audemars. Yeah.
You're like
but yeah, it's like I'm really curious, like I mean, obviously, like there is a very nice video by Nones where you talk about the process.
Yeah, it was made by Orion.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I loved it so much. And I loved also, like, because it's like, it feels so it's like we're with you. Like, I love like how it was shot. And
she's very good. I feel lucky because I feel like I did, like, the art videos can be so boring.
Yeah.
It's like a slow-mo shot.
Yeah.
Like voiceover of like, I grew up in blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, but like I was like, this is gonna be about the process. And honestly, I was also like so busy, I didn't necessarily want to like have a crew at home, like with like, they come with like whole, you know, and always like have to like, I'm like, am I fake working because they're looking at me? It's really hard. And I was like, well, my partner makes documentaries and it can be very casual, and like we always hang out anyways.
Yeah.
And also she's really good at it. So
yeah,
I was happy that she made that video.
Yeah, it was really nice also to see you, because it's like a day in the life, a life in the day. No, how do you call it?
A life in the day.
A life in the day.
A full life.
Yeah. And like you, like the thing with the rats, I feel like I felt you in that. You know?
Scared too?
I hate rats. Like,
oh my god,
because they come out of nowhere, and
exactly.
It's like, I think it's the fear, but I don't know what's the solution. But yeah, I'm curious about like how was the process? Like, how was it for you to work on this commission, and having this public sculpture?
It was cool. It was a big risk because it was like, it's kind of like a machine, you know, so it has this pole and then it has these like e-bike motors. And I was really lucky because the whole team, Jordan at the Highline, who's like installs everything there, and then Raf, who's the engineer who made it, and then like everyone was like, they were so good. Like I could never, you know, I just made a 3D that like spinned really fast. And so I was like really supported in terms of like the technical aspect, but it took a while to figure it out. And I had no idea if like once it all spins, like, is it interesting? Does it create something? I wanted it to like reach a thing where it spins and then you forget it doesn't, like, it only exists when it's spinning. The object you see when it stopped, that's not the sculpture. And I think it worked sometimes when it went fast. At first, it had to go kind of slow because it would fall. So there was like a lot of technical issues. And it's nerve-wracking because you're on the Highline. There's millions of tourists every day. And you're like, it's dangerous. I'm like, what if it kills someone? Like at some point it broke, you know, it fell. But at the end, for months, it worked. And so that was amazing. And it was cool. Like, it's funny to be like so public in New York. You get so many people that like, they tag you in these like little reels, like, I think in New York City, like all these tourist videos are like, I've got like people like made memes with it, like about like mental health.
Whoa.
Like, or like TGIF, because it's like, I had a crazy week, you know what I mean? Like super busy. So it's like, it was like, it's funny to have these feedbacks rather than like just museum feedback. I mean, although the big museums in New York, they also have a lot of tourists. Yeah. Like they go to the Whitney, then to the Highline, and then you have these kind of videos, but it's my favorite. Also seeing kids react to it. Yeah. I think making public work is really exciting for that reason.
Like, would you want to do more public work in the future?
Yeah, for sure.
Is it like, so, because you have also this video, the umbrella twist, a sculpture? And so this was in Belgium, right?
At Clearing Brussels.
And yeah, I'm curious, was it kind of like the same process that, like did you think of the audience? Because for the Highline you were thinking about, you know, people, the tourists, and were you thinking about the audience here?
I was hoping I would not kill the audience. Because that was also another sculpture that I basically started making these mechanical sculptures, not understanding they need a lot of like testing time. Because when you have something at that scale, it needs a big motor and you need to let it spin for a long time to see if it's gonna break.
Well,
And it did break.
Wait.
At some point. Because you have it, it's actually, you can't, I don't know if you can tell here, but it's like super, super tall. And it's really, it's like scary. Like we're like, so same with that. The windy piece, it's like it's really spinning fast, and you have to test run these things. Kind of like how you test an airbag. You know what I mean? Like you have to let it. And then these were finished the day before the opening, and so like now I learned like if it's gonna be big, heavy, dangerous, and moving, you have to approach it in advance. You have to do it in advance to like but then so that's what I was thinking most about audience wise when this was up. In making it, I think I was like, the video inside of it is like this 5-minute kind of musical. It's like to a Rossini Petite Messe Solennelle. No, is it? Yes, not this part, but the beginning. Then I chose another. I was kind of like looking at Fantasia and like just like I wanted to do the exercise, like it's like an animation exercise of like animating to music, which brings me to something that you're not gonna get out of it. And then I was also, it was inspired by Routini. Do you know Routini?
No.
Routini is this hashtag that I think started in Morocco or North Africa. And it's women cleaning their houses. Okay, you haven't seen this?
No.
So at first you're like, oh, she's just like filming herself.
Wait, I think my cousin sorry, I think my cousin mentioned something about it.
Probably.
Was it like controversial or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's women who like, you're like, oh, are you cooking? They're like, oh, I'm just like making tagine. And like, now I'm gonna go clean the kids' room. But then they're like, oops. And like, they drop something. Or like, they're like, we're cleaning a rug and their ass is, you know, like, or like the camera. So it's like erotically coded. And they're kind of like these erotic videos. And I was like, this is mind-blowingly amazing. It's like...
Wait, when was this?
It started a few years ago, but it's still very much happening. And of course they get so much shit. But they have millions of views. And for me, it was like so beautiful because that's like, it was like, oh, this is like an eroticism that is purely Moroccan in its aesthetic and rhythm. It's not inspired by any other thing. And they're creating a new genre of reality TV because there's drama between people, and they're I just want to start with this video by responding to all the people who've said that like I don't include my husband enough in the videos. Here he is, he can speak for himself. And there's like all this, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Damn, we need to watch. I need to watch it. Damn.
There's just type Routini. So this was inspired by a star. I think her name is Fatiha. I think it's Afkar Basita. That's her YouTube channel. And so yeah, it was
it's so cool. Like I love like how the reference to, you know, like life, like, because I feel like what do you think art should be like? You know, like
small question.
Because I feel like you're living life. You know, like I feel like some artists are kind of like against like every pop culture or like technology, or like they just stay in a cave, and I feel like you're just like living life and floating. And
I wish I was floating.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean. Yeah, you
like you react to the environment and things are moving, and based on that, it's like a dialogue that you're having with culture. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you do that too, right? Like I feel you have so many sonic references. Like it's really open, and then but still like very recognizable as you. Well, instead of answering your question, I require. I wanna explain?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So one of my favorite kind of like moment that I worked with music was with your track, which was for the second chapter of the Caps, and I thought you would show it today. Then you're like, I'm just an interviewer. I want to disappear as an artist in this series, but then I made you download it so we can watch it.
Oh, thank you so much, Meriem.
No, it's such a good track.
Oh, thank you so much. The animation is so cool. It's insane that like you thought about it and you made it.
It's really
in sync.
Inspired by the sounds, because there's so many sounds. This is an edit because it was a teaser, so I edited your song. Hope it's okay.
Nice. Yeah, of course.
Like a shorter version.
No. Yeah, like how did you like got the idea of doing the stethoscope? Yeah.
You had a note for
I was like, I know.
You're like another.
I need to write every.
It's a character, so I often have a 3D kind of narrator character.
Yeah.
For each video, it's a different thing. For the Caps, it's a crocodile. For the film about French school, it's a hmar.
Yeah.
It's a nan, donkey.
Yeah.
And then this is for a project I never made that was about a doctor. And I wanted this like kind of sexy catwalking stethoscope that sometimes comes out and like takes people's heartbeats to like when there's too much drama. And I never used it, but I had modeled it. And so this was in the second chapter of the Caps. It was COVID. I couldn't go film. So I just kind of did this kind of like going through internet, like non-linear chapter. And then the stethoscope, before this, it comes out of like, it breaks out of the screen. And I was thinking about YouTube ads, how they just like interrupt your viewing, but maybe the version on the internet of the Caps is they like literally like kind of in a Looney Tunes way, just like rip the screen apart and come out. And then I just followed honestly, I just followed the music. I was like, okay, like now the stethoscope is doing this, and then there's this, like a sound that's like, and I was like, that's like electricity. Like, so maybe the stethoscope is getting electrocuted in the toaster, and then like boom, boom, boom. I'm like, it's like an army, like the army of it was really just like the song was so like evocative.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah, that means so much. Cause
sorry.
Yeah, honestly, I loved, like, I was amazed, like, to see a world to a song. I think it's inspiring, because you also to see an artist like reacting to it, because like I'm sure also like when you make drawings and art and video, like you just make it, but then when you see
what someone it's cool. Do you remember how you made that song? Was it like a just moment of like inspiration, or did you work on it for a long time?
No, I never work on like, it's just like well, at that time it was COVID, and I was just recording on my Zoom recorder, so everything is one shot, one take.
That's crazy.
I have my gear set up, and then I have my mixer, and it's just like, I think there is something that I think I've also find in your work. It's of course intuition, but also like capturing the moment. And like not falling into like just trying to capture the emotion and capture like it's more important than like the polishing. So and then at that time I was making so much we were locked down, so
no, but you still make so many things. I'm like I always have a and everything's so good.
Wow, thank you so much. But speaking of lockdown, you were like the TV show. Welcome to TV reality. Yeah, speaking of lockdown, you with Orion Barki, you worked on Two Lizards during lockdown.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get the idea of like working on this project?
So at first it wasn't a project. It was like first week of COVID. Everything felt so intense and strange. I was coming from like many deadlines for a few years, and I really was like, I need to chill. Like I had just finished a show. I went to New York being like, I'm gonna take a pause, and then COVID started. And I had some stuff to do, but everything felt so absurd. She had some deadlines, it felt absurd. And we were like, I had downloaded these 3D characters for a piece, for another piece. And it was like I had all these animals, and I was like, I couldn't remember the last time we had time. Like we were a bit bored.
Yeah.
We weren't actually. We had to do stuff, but we didn't want to do them. And I was like, oh, like we had this idea of like doing like two animals having a very existential conversation. It was that simple. And then we had a conversation that day that we're like, why don't we just animate that conversation? And then I was like, here are the animals I have. She was like, let's do these lizards. Let's animate the conversations we had this morning. And then that's it.
Wow.
Like we did it as like a fun thing. And then she was like, oh, like look at these videos in Italy of people playing music. I'm like,
oh yeah.
balconies. And then we're like, okay, maybe the lizards like are chatting on my roof. And then they see other animals playing music, and then they start dancing. And then she put in the Miles Davis song. That really was just like a one afternoon thing. And then we're like, this is kind of fun. Or like maybe there's something to like this mix of like super casual documentary filling conversation with animation. Then we kept going.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, at that time I remember it was like the it's like when your TV show, there's a new episode coming, it was like, oh my god, there's a and it was
and
so...
then it lasts 2 minutes.
No, but I think because it was so, like, you were talking about what we all felt, that it's like going back to humor.
Yeah.
It's like I know Gad El Maleh, this famous Moroccan humorist, and the reason why I feel like his work is so strong is because he pinpoints the exact thing that people relate to.
Yeah.
And
but he does that within one culture, right? So it's like that works for us. We get the jokes.
Yeah.
I think where we got lucky and like is that it was like a moment that obviously people had different experiences from super hard to super easy of what COVID meant, right? But like there were some things that were like everyone is like experiencing this and being like, this is crazy, right? Like, and also everyone had a lot of time to be on their phone. So I think that's why like a lot of people connected to it.
And is it like something you want to pursue, like this kind of, like free project, like just kind of like one shot, not one shot, you know what I mean? Like something, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, I feel like it was similar, like how I was working. Like it was just like trying to just do something, not thinking about it.
Yeah, I think you need moments like that to find new ideas where you're not trying.
Yeah.
So you're like, there's no pressure, and like you maybe have new things to express and they just come out in a way that's fresh. And if you're able to notice it, then it becomes something. But often after fresh moments like that, there's then the elaboration of it. Right now we're working on a film, and it's the elaboration maybe of this in a way. And I miss this in a way because I'm so happy with what we're doing, but it's so intense. And so this feels like a breath of fresh air, like how casual it was, how low production value, like it was very fun. But I hope that, like I continue to like after a very organized, very like ambitious, stressful project to have moments that feel like I'm just playing. And that's why I think it's really important to always make that time. To like have time, long periods of time of playing.
And like, do you have like upcoming projects that you're exciting about that involve new technologies or something different?
I don't know about new technologies.
Because no, new medium, sorry, not new tech, like like a different like a different art, like tool, like that's like totally different from what you do.
No, not totally different. I mean, now the film we're making is like a feature length, like narrative, so that feels new. I mean, it's a lot of the muscles we've developed over the years, but so many new things because it's such a different scale and it requires such a more collaborative. We're working in a full team. It's not about just me or us like working, right? And like that to me is a new technology that I'm learning, like collaborating, working at a big scale, working for 2 years on one thing, just like all that. Those are, I think they're fully new tools. And they're really like like they're really pushing me really hard. And I think it's good. But yeah, like still within animation.
Yeah. And do you have like any advices like you would give to emerging artists in, I don't know, in the worldwide? Yeah.
I don't feel like, I feel like the things that I learned that helped me apply to what I've needed to learn. When I said the things I've learned, like where I'm learning every day, but like the things that I'm like, oh, like I'm noticing this and that's helpful. They're very much about how I work or like what I want to do. And I feel like it would be presumptuous to assume that everyone can use that. But if I try to play, to like jouer le jeu, like if I'm trying to make the effort to answer your question, my advice is really annoying. I think that being sincere or trying to be, you can't always be sincere, and sincerity is not necessarily like a high, like, I'm not saying there's a hierarchy of things, but I think to like always touch base with yourself while you're making something, like making sure it's still because you really care about it and not because it's current or whatever, like what is current, like is it to like, I think feel like really like that you mean something and that you care, I think is nice. It's easy to like get disconnected from that, and I think in the context of art or like music, I'm not talking like for lucrative purposes because we need to live. I mean, not that they can work together also, but I think that's nice.
Yeah,
because there's so much coming at us at all times that sometimes it's hard to know what we like, the difference between what we like to see and what we want to make. It's not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think thank you so much, Meriem, for your time. This was so nice. I feel like I could go over like like it's like endless. But thank you so much for your time, and
thanks for your listening.
Of course.
I know it was long-winded and stuff, but
no, it was honestly like yeah.
My blood is gargling.
We're hungry. But honestly, it was it's so inspiring to hear you talk about your work, like see your work and then hear you talk, and I feel like I would love more of that in New York. Like like if like
I want to ask you. Also, I kept wanting to ask you a lot of questions.
No,
I'm trying to respect the format.
No, this is perfect. But I feel like maybe in the future it would be nice to have artists from different fields and reacting.
Yeah,
because that would be. I was just thinking about it when you were talking about like in the beginning of the interview. But yeah, thank you so much, Meriem.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. I'll make sure to include all of the links. And bye.